Hi guys, good morning and welcome to this session. So this is Primus Veku at Primus Learning, and this is a quick session, right? Someone asked me to make a quick video for them on how to basically maybe create, stop and start EC2 instances in their AWS environments when they're not using them, right? So let's take, for instance, let's say you have EC2 instances in your AWS account, in your organization, and your developers or engineers are working with the EC2 instances during the day, and at night, basically you want them off. Nobody is working on using them at night. You want those machines off. You want to save costs by having those machines off every day at, let's say, 6 p.m. every day at 6 p.m. And then you want to start them back again up every morning at 6 a.m. Right. So that's your use case, or maybe 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. That is your use case. Now, what do you do to be able to get that use case figured out in AWS? The very first thing is that you can create a Lambda function that helps you realize that. You can create a Lambda function that helps you stop and start your EC2 instances on a schedule basis, depending on your schedule, right? Whenever you want it to stop and start your EC2 instances. And here is a basic example code that will help you do that, right? So the only thing I'm doing here is I'm importing Boto3. That's the library that we want to use, or Boto3 is really a Python library or SDK, or call it a package, a Python package that is used in AWS, and it's really very useful, right? And so we want to import this library called Boto3, and we want to set a region. The region we are setting for ourselves is US East 1. This is the region where your EC2 instances are located. So you have to have that region defined. And then you have to pass your EC2 instances here. So you define your EC2 instances and pass them in here. Say you have two EC2 instances, you put them in bracket and you put a comma. So you separate them with a comma, and then you put the other EC2 instance, the instance ID for the second instance in this format. So it will be this format right here. You just have a comma and do this, and that's it. But in this use case, we want to do just one. So let's keep it at that. And then you're calling the Boto3 client to use EC2. So the Boto3 client API will use the EC2 service. And of course, it will pick up this region here. And then you have to define a Lambda handler, right? And a Lambda handler has an event and a context. And this is all what you're defining. You want to have you want to be able to start EC2 instances. So EC2.start, EC2.start instances. And then in the case of you want to stop instances, it will be EC2.stop instances, right? And then you can print whether the instances were started or stopped, depends on what you want to print, right? This is just a print statement that you want to have. So this print statement is for started your EC2 instances if you're using the start option, and stopped your EC2 instances if you're using the stopped option. So what we can do here is in your environment, you can create two Lambda functions, right? You can create two Lambda functions, one that will be starting your instances and another that will be stopping your instances. So let's begin with the one that will be starting your EC2 instances. And so we want to comment out this one. And leave this one, print started your EC2 instance. So I have an EC2 instance with this instance ID. And all I would do is I'll have to copy this code up and create a Lambda function. So let's go into the AWS console and create a Lambda function. And so you need to go to AWS, go to Lambda functions. So you should know what Lambdas are. If you are watching this video, I'm sure you know what Lambda functions are. And you have to create a Lambda function. So the first thing you have to understand is the Lambda function needs to use a role to be able to work correctly, right? It needs to have a role that has permissions to stop and start EC2 instances to be able to function correctly. But yeah, let's go ahead. We'll walk through the process. So let's create a role. We'll call this role Primus learn. We'll call the function, sorry, Primus learning start instances. Let's call it that way. Primus learning start instances. That's how we'll call the role. The Lambda function. Sorry, I'm just going back to the role. Sorry. So we used Python 3.9 and change execution role. So if you created a role earlier, you could, of course, use the existing role that is that you created. But in this case, we'll use the role with basic Lambda functions, which means this Lambda function will create a role for us. You can create an existing role, just give yourself maybe admin permissions or whatever, just to test this out, right? You can create any role you want. But for now, we'll use this role and add permissions to it later. So we'll use this role, the role that will be created, the service role that will be created with this, and then we'll just click on create function. So this function will create a role for us that we'll use in this exercise. So the role name will be this, Primus Learning Start Instances role. Then you have some prefix under it. And now we've created the Lambda function. The code that we copied over from our Visual Studio code, we'll have to paste it here. So let's paste that code here. You see, so this code will, of course, start this EC2 instance. So if we go to instances, this EC2 instance should be stopped. So that EC2 instance is not running. This is the EC2 instance right here. And this is the ID. The ID ends with 90E. So this is the at Ubuntu EC2 instance that we want to start. All right, let's go back to our function. You see the ID ends with 90E. All right, so we're good. Now we want to test our function, but to test this function, we have to deploy it, right? So if you do test, you ask you to create an event. And so we'll give the event name, anything, test function or something, test function. Just give it, just leave the values that are here, the hello values that are here. Once you've done that, you can click save. All right, once you've saved this, you want to deploy this. So you have to deploy so that the changes take effect. So let's deploy that. And then you test your function if it's working properly. So let us run a test against this function. What this function should do is it should come in here, take up the EC2 instance, look for the ID and start this EC2 instance. That's what we want to do, right? So let's click here, test. And we have an error. We have an error. And you see, your errors will always give you a hint of what is expected. So the error tells us that an error occurred on authorized operation when calling the start instances operation. You are not authorized. So you see, we are not authorized to start the operation. Why? Because this role doesn't have access. It doesn't have permissions to just go in and start and stop instances, right? Remember, we didn't grant it any permissions. We used the default role. Now, what you can do is you can go to that role that we just created. So you can edit and go back to this edit, sorry. What you can do, therefore, when you see this error, is go to configuration here and look for and edit this. Go to configurations and go to edit to see which role is attached to this. You remember the role we saw earlier when we were creating. It said it will create a default role. So you can go to this role. So this is the role. You can simply click here and go to the role. You can click on this role and add permissions to the role so that the role can have permissions to start and stop an EC2 instance. That's what we want to do on this role. So we want to come in here and add permissions on this role, right? So this is the role. It has just this Lambda execution default permissions. We want to add permissions. So let's just say we want to add EC2 permissions to this role because we want it to do what? Want it to be able to do some actions in EC2. I'll just give it full EC2 access now. So just attach. So the permissions have been attached to this role, which means this role now has access to execute functions against an EC2 instance, to execute commands against an EC2 instance. So we've done that. Now let's go back to our Lambda function and test it again. So this is a Lambda function. Nothing has changed yet. We just want to run this Lambda function a second time. Now let's hit run. So the test function is successful. You see, we've had a success, and it says started your EC2 instances, and you see our success message here. Now you can see some output here, which means that your function is successful because it has permissions now to go in and start an EC2 instance. If we go to our EC2 instance now, you see the instance is currently stopped. If we refresh, we should see an instance starting up. You see it's already in a pending state, which means our function is working. It is in a pending state. Our function therefore is working. So you can just do this and see the function. Oh, the function is stopped. I know why, because I have something that's running the function the second time. So anyway, the function has stopped. So it was pending, except, hold on, let's go back to our function and see what the function looks like. EC2 start. So let's do that and go back to, so it should start. Let's go back here. It should be pending start. Okay, it's pending start. I think it should be pending. It should run in a moment. All right, so it's pending. Let's see if it starts. All right, our EC2 is now running, guys. So you see the EC2 instance is now running. And so we've set up the first thing, right? So to stop the instance, right, you can do the same thing. You can go here, uncomment this one, since we have the commented one out. So you can comment out the start instance. And since the instance is, this thing is running already, you can just do the stop instance one and then redeploy. You have to redeploy because we want to stop the instance from here. So if you do that, redeploy it and stop the instance with this one, you see we're using the same function, but we have to create two. So it will go back and stop this EC2 instance that's already running. So if we do this, you see it's already stopping. It's very quick. It already is stopping the instance right here. Now, so the instance is at a stop state, right? So we'll assume that this instance is start instance. And so let's just do this one this way and leave this one. So we'll call this function is start instance. So we'll copy this same code again. So it's the same code for the same instance. We'll copy the same code and go create a second function, which will be the stop instance function. So let's go into functions and create a function, and we can give it Primus learning stop in EC2 stop instances. Let's just call it that way, stop instances. And then we want to select Python 3.9. And of course, we want to use an existing role, which is the role we just used in the earlier run, right? Because we know the role, we've added permissions to that role, the earlier function. So the role was named Primus Learning Start Instances. So we'll use the same role. We can use a different one, but we'll use the same role now so that we don't go back and forth and create our function. So we're creating the function. You hit on create there and replace this dummy code with what you copied. And now you don't want to start, this function is the one that stops the instance, right? So you want to comment this out and uncomment the stop instances because this function will be stopping instances. And so you want to do a test, just so you configure this and just say test function. And then you save down here, go down and save, and you deploy this code. So you want to deploy the stop instance code to make sure it's able to stop an instance. So if you run it, I'm sure it will fail because the instance is already, it will execute actually because the instance is already stopped, right? But it will execute, it's already stopped. Just that it will return that it's no instance is there to stop, right? There's no instance to stop, but your thing is successful. The Lambda function is correct. It's seeing an instance, but it's not, not just starting it, not just stopping it because it's already stopped. All right, so the second function is ready. So we have two functions that we've created. One function is starting an EC2 instance. The second function is stopping an EC2 instance. So don't worry, guys. I'll attach the code to the description section of our video, so you can copy the code and try it out yourself. All right, so we have this ready. We have the two functions ready. The next step is, all right, how then do you figure out how to start and stop the instances at the particular times you want? So the stop instance, you want to stop the instances at 6 p.m. when everyone has closed from work. The start instances, you want to start instances at 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning when everyone is coming to start working. So how then do you schedule it so that you will not manually be coming in here and running this? That is where CloudWatch events come in. So to do that, let's go to, you have to navigate to your CloudWatch dashboard. So you can just search for CloudWatch, right? On your dashboard here and go there. We'll go to CloudWatch and create function. You have to create some events. So we want to create some CloudWatch events. So let's go to CloudWatch and go to these events. So you see we are on CloudWatch events, and you want to create a rule under events. You see I have some rules here. I can delete this rule, disable, or just disable this rule. There are some rules here for some other things. Now, you want to create a rule, guys. You want to create a rule. This is create a rule. This is how it would look. There are different ways you can create a rule. You can create a rule with event patterns, or you can create with a schedule. In our case, you want to create with a schedule. Why? Because, of course, you want to schedule this so that it runs every day at a particular time. You want to have a schedule. And so you don't want a fixed schedule, because the fixed schedule has a particular time. Actually, you could have a fixed schedule which says particular days, which starts particular days and so on and so forth. You define that. Or if you want it to be starting every hour or something, you could do that. There are use cases for fixed rate, for fixed schedules, right? But that's not the kind of schedule you would want for this. You would want a cron expression. A cron expression is an expression which details out exactly what you want to do. So take, for instance, we want to start these instances every day at a particular time. So there is a neat tool called crontab.guru that you can use, right? And define your cron jobs on it. So here we've just defined a simple cron job, and the cron job is saying, you see what this number here will indicate. Once you put a star there, it indicates that every minute. So this is the minute. This tool is very neat, guys. You guys can take it, play with it, and just discover how it works. So once you do this, a star, it says every minute, right? So you could say a star every minute, every hour, it will be every minute, like it would run throughout the day. But that's not what you want to do. So you want to say, maybe run this thing at this particular time, 6 o'clock, so 6 p.m., and then run it every day. So you see the way you're creating your cron tab. If you don't know how to create cron tabs, you can use this tool to create your cron tabs. So you want to run this thing at 6 p.m. every day, every month, and every day of the week. So Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, right? But if you wanted to run it just maybe once a week, you would put 1, and it will show you that it will be running every Monday. 2 will be every Tuesday. 3, just like that, right? So star indicates that you want to run it every day. Every month, do you want it to run every month? Yes. Else you put 1 to 12 because you have 12 months, right? You put, if you want to run it only in December, then you put the 12th month and so on. Do you want to run this thing every day? Every day start, else you have to put from 1 to the 30th of the month, right? So that's what this is all about. So you want to run this thing every 6 o'clock. So you define the 6 o'clock. So this follows the 24 hours rule, right? So this 6 o'clock, I think, should be 6 a.m. This should be 6 a.m. because that's how 6 a.m. is written. If it's 6 p.m., I think it should be 18 hours or something, if I'm not mistaken, 18 like that. And then it will run every 18 hour. So the next run will be on it will show you the next run. The next run will be on February 1st, that's today. Today is February 1st at this hour, which is 6 p.m. 18 hours is 6 p.m. Then the next one will be tomorrow, which will be the second at 6 p.m. So this is the cron tab you want to have if you want to stop these EC2 instances every 6 p.m. daily. So you would simply copy this and go back to your CloudWatch. Go back to your CloudWatch. You see you selected cron and just put the cron here and it will pick up the cron. Once it's picked up the cron, you want to define the target function, right? You want to pass the target function. Remember, we had two different functions that we created. So we created the Primus Learning Stop instance. That's not what you want to do at 6 p.m. You want to select the Primus Learning Start instances. So you select Start instances and then you configure and you give it a name. Primus Learning Start instances. You can just give it like that. And a description, you just say, hey, start instances at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. daily, right? Well, Acron is the stop one. So we'll use this cron for the stop one, and then the 6 p.m. one should be 6 a.m. one should be like this. This is the 6 a.m. one. So we can use this one instead of the other one. So you want to start instances at that time. So you create a rule, we'll edit it. An error while saving schedule expression is not valid. So it says the schedule expression is not valid. Let's go back to the schedule expression and see what it's all about. So it says this expression is not valid. So actually it should be this. So this one should be valid. Let's see, create. Expression is not valid. Ooh, it's not recognizing the style for this one. So let's remove this and see. It's not recognizing the style. So let's try that and see. Oh yeah, so it's not recognizing the style, this cron style. So what you can do, you can look at the sample expressions they have. So you go to AWS documentation. That's quick. You can do that. AWS has its documentation on how you can figure it out. So minutes 0 to 59 are represented this way. So you can have a star slash something. So let's see I just want to see a sample expression. I don't want to go through all of that. Sample event patterns, sample expressions. Give me a sample expression. Okay. Sample expression. So a star will occur. Let's see. So 0 will be minute, hours, so hours are represented this way. Okay. And then the slash, what's the slash for? So I see, it looks like this has to be this way, slash this, and it would work. Still not correct. Anyway, this, you have to figure out your schedule, guys. your events, your cron job for your AWS cron job. So let's see. It's taking a little while for us to figure it out because event rule pattern. Let's see sample. So you can do the sample AWS because we can't figure it out from there. That's a stupid one. Sample AWS cron tabs, yeah. Cron jobs, sorry, let's put cron jobs for stuff for CloudWatch alarms. Okay, schedule expression sample. All right, so this one looks like it's a document that explains something for us. All right, so this guy has sample expressions. Okay, try this. The question mark says that it must not be executed every day, so it must check, blah, blah, blah. So this one looks like what we did. But the question mark there. Yes, I'm guessing is Sunday. So let's try this expression and see what it looks like, if it would work. It looks like ours is messy, messy, messy. Oh, so it shows next trigger date. So this one is correct. It's showing next trigger date Sunday, 0th February, this at this time, Sunday. So this one will execute every Sunday. This one will execute only on Sundays. So what if we put, because this is days, what if we put star here? It will execute Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So this one will execute every day. And then at 16 GMT. All right, wanted 18 GMT. So 18 GMT is 6 p.m. This is the stop one. But if you want the start one, it will be 6 GMT. So we figured it out, guys. So it will start every day. So this is the cron tab we want to use. All right. Thank you, whoever you are. So we figured it out and configure and create rule. So this rule right here will start our instances. No, we're doing the start. So we wanted the 6 a.m. correct. This rule will start our instances at 6 a.m. Now I want to create a second rule. That will stop our instances at 6 p.m. So this is go to the schedule, go to cron, paste this cron here and just fix it to 18. That's the time we want it to stop. Stop this machine every blah, 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 right? So the next stop will be at this time, 18 o'clock, the 23rd, it will trigger. So want to stop at this time. And once you've defined it, you simply add your target. This one is the stop instance. The stop instance, Primus Learning stop instances. So this one, and then you hit configure and you configure and you give it a rule, Primus Learning. So instead of start, we'll have stop instances and just stops EC2 instances every 6 p.m. Okay, so we have this, create a rule. Now you have your two rules, guys, and this thing will trigger every time and it will go start that instance and stop the instance at the particular time. So you see it's showing a schedule. You can disable it and so on and so forth. All right, so this is how it works. But for us now to make sure that it's working, we'll use a different type of schedule, right? So we'll have to modify this cron. Let's edit this cron. So for us to make sure that this thing is working correctly, you have to test it, right? How do you test it? You can test it with a schedule as well, but a fixed schedule. So the time now is 2:16 p.m. EST. And what I want to do is I want to select per minute. So it stops at, let's do this thing to stop at to start the instance because the instance is already in a start in a stop state, right? We want to start the instance at let's say in 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, so you select the minutes, you can start the instance in 2 minutes. So we have a fixed thing here just to test that this thing is working, right, as expected. So had that on a fixed time, you see it's not cron anymore, and then we configure. So it will run every 2 minutes. So let's configure, and it's on the start instance. So once we start this instance, we'll watch it happen in the next 2 minutes. So if we go to our EC2 instance, they are currently stopped. In the next 2 minutes, it should, that role that we created should be able to trigger and start the at Ubuntu EC2. It's done that. It's pending already. You can see that. So it's doing its magic. It's pending. The rule is working, guys. The rule is working. Why? The rule is now using the Lambda function. It's triggering the Lambda function that we created to start EC2 instances. I hope that makes sense. So it's triggering the Lambda function that we created to start instances. And the second one, we'll create the second one. You see, it's already running. So this instance is running. If you leave it, it will stop at 6 p.m. this evening, because we have a rule that is stopping at 6 p.m. So let's go to the second rule, which stops the instance and edit it and make it to stop this instance that we just started. So we'll go here and edit, and we'll take a fixed one again and say, hey, can you stop this thing in 2 minutes? We want you to stop it in the next 2 minutes. So we'll configure it. Remember, it will be stopping every 2 minutes. It will be going and running this function every 2 minutes, guys. That's the one with the fixed one, every 2 minutes. So it will be starting and stopping. This one will be starting and it's stopping it, starting and stopping, but we'll delete them very soon. So in the next 2 minutes, this thing should stop. So this is 19. In the next 2 minutes, it should be stopping. So let's get it to work, and then we can delete those things, because we don't want this instance to be suffering from starts and stops. I think the other one will kick in soon as well, so it may disrupt the flow of this thing, because you remember the other function that we just did. So it's stopping. All right, so our function has kicked in. Let's just stop these two things. Let's stop this one first, so it doesn't start the instance again. Let's disable so that it doesn't start the instance again. It might have even triggered. Let's see. No, it's not triggered yet. All right, so we've disabled it. It will not be able to trigger. And then let's disable the stop one as well, because we don't want it to constantly be running. All right, we've disabled this one. You can enable them anytime again. Just leave them. You can just delete them if you want, or leave them running, guys. So this was a quick one. We just wanted to show you how to create a Lambda function that helps you start and stop your instances depending on the schedule that you want. You can study this cron. This cron is mostly used. I've been using this cron tab on my mostly bash scripts and things that I want to do a schedule, EML, Spark jobs that I've been running. And so it doesn't work the same way on the EC2 or CloudWatch part as the CloudWatch thing wants, right? So the CloudWatch one has a little nuance, and that's why we came to this document to see it. So guys, thanks for watching. You see, we're doing it live. I hope you enjoyed it. You can follow this tutorial and walk through it yourself, and try it out. I'll upload this code to GitHub. So I will remove this. I'll remove this instance ID. So just replace it with your instance ID. Replace instance ID. This is how I'll put it, guys, so that I don't upload an instance ID to GitHub. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Please hit the subscribe button and let us know what you think about this video by commenting and sharing our videos. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.